Alright guys, we're back with more from Keeping the Night Watch by Hope Anita Smith. And I hope you agree this is a really wonderful book. It has a lot going on every page, and it has a great way to study things like predicting or inferring or plot. It just has so much going on in this book. So we're going to dive back into figurative language, and I added a list from that presentation I made for you to help you to identify what kind is going on. I'll do a real quick review. Alliteration is where the beginning sounds sound the same. Hyperbole is an obvious exaggeration. An idiom is a phrase where the words that you say don't exactly match up with what you mean. A metaphor is closely tied to a simile. And a metaphor is like a super strong simile where you, instead of saying like or as, compare these two things, you actually say that one thing is something else. Metaphors are often used in poetry. Onomatopoeia is where the words sound, the words are a sound word, like it means, or it stands for a sound, like snap or bang or crash or meow. Those are all words that you can spell out to make a sound. Personification is where you talk about something that either can't be a person or can't be alive, and you talk about it in ways that only a person could do. And of course, a simile is where you compare two different things using the word like or as. Okay, so similes and metaphors are very similar, but instead of saying one thing is something else, you compare it to something else, like as fast as lightning. It's a simile. All right, so I'll bring that back in when we're talking about figurative language for you. So we ended up on our last lesson with this page here. It was called Man-to-Man Talk. So if you've not heard that, my previous lesson, please go back and take a look at that, because there's a lot of good things that are going on there. So we talked about a lot of amazing stories, parts of the story. And so we're going to move on in the story. You can see I have some pages tabbed there. And I'm going to skip some stuff. So next section is called Spring, which is a good sign, because spring is usually a nice time of year. So maybe symbolic of some sort of change happening. We're going to skip. There's some sort of a sermon that he goes to during church that's kind of important. We'll have to skip that because we don't have enough time to get all that. He meets a girl called, I think, Maya. Yeah, Maya, and he likes her. Okay, so our boy CJ likes this girl named Maya. That may be mentioned some in the future. So Maya is the girl he likes, and then this preacher he listened to in church had a big impact on his life too. So, okay, so we have the preacher, we have Maya, may come up in some of the poems we read in the future. We just skip those because we don't have enough time to read all of them. So here we go. Field trip. The permission slip only required one parent signature. Piece of cake. I handed it to Mama. But Mama said, "I'm busy. Get your daddy to sign it." I really wanted to go, but I couldn't see asking him. "I'll wait," I said. I stood my ground. Pen and paper outstretched to Mama. "When's the trip?" she asked. "Next Friday." "Well, then you'll be waiting a month of Sundays for me to sign it." "I told you, CJ, I'm busy." Mama pointed at the paper and said, "It says here, parent signature. You got two. I'm not the only one with a pen." Daddy was in the other room. I wasn't sure how much he'd heard. I didn't care. I couldn't back down now. How could I? I'd skip the trip. Miss out sitting next to Maya on a 2-hour bus ride? Spend the day doing busy work at the library? I looked down at the permission slip, dangling from my fingertips, holding on to it for dear life. Then I looked toward the room where Daddy was. My feet couldn't move. My pride wouldn't let them. Looks like you're stuck between a rock and a hard spot, Mama said as she walked out of the room, dismissing herself, thereby dismissing me. And there's the picture of CJ with his paper and his symbolic rock and a hard spot that he's in. All right, so let's first talk about figurative language, then we'll make some inferences like we did before. So I have the list of them for you this time. Okay, so here we go. This is all just literal language. We get to this phrase here. I believe we've talked about it in our classroom before. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. What kind of figurative language is that, the phrase piece of cake? And hopefully you're screaming at your screen right now. Yes, that is an idiom. And it means, this is so easy. He's saying, I need a permission slip signed. One parent signed it. Mom's right here. Piece of cake. So easy. I give it to Mama. But it turned out it was not that easy. Okay, so Mom's busy. Get your dad to sign it. And also, you may think, well, she could just put her things down and get to work and go ahead and do it. But what she's taking a stand here. She's saying, you have two parents. It's not fair that you ask me for everything when your dad is right there, not busy, and you're too filled with pride or hate or whatever you're filled with, that I have to stop what I'm doing just because you have these feelings that you can't resolve. So, I really want to go. Asking him. This is all just regular language. When's the trip? Again, all just literal language. Okay, so we get to some more figurative language. He says, or she asks, when's the trip? Next Friday. Well then, you'll be waiting a month of Sundays for me to sign it. A month of Sundays means a super, super long time. Okay. So that would be, what kind of language there? Yeah, either hyperbole or an idiom. And if you're talking about an idiom, that means it just means a super long time. And hyperbole means like over a month. She doesn't really mean that, so maybe hyperbole there too. Okay, paragraph 2. I'm not the only one with a pen. Couldn't back down might be an idiom. To back down. That means like to just give up. That might be an idiom there. All right, so we'll go back to making inferences later on. We'll talk about figurative language. Missed out on sitting next to Maya on the 2-hour bus ride, spending the whole day doing busy work in the library. This is all just literal language. I looked down at the permission slip dangling from my fingertips, holding it for dear life. So that would be figurative language. Holding on to it for dear life. So what kind of language would that be? What kind of figurative language would that be? Probably hyperbole, because we all know he's not going to die if he loses this paper. And it just means, think about what it means. If it's hyperbole, that he may die if he doesn't get this thing done, what does that mean then? Think about that. Yeah, it just means that it's super important to him. It's super, super important to him. Like when you say to your mom, I need to go to the mall. If I don't go to the mall, I'm going to die. Well, that's hyperbole, and it just means it's super important to you. That's it. Okay, let's keep on going. My feet couldn't move. My pride wouldn't let them. My feet couldn't move. That's not true. They can move. He did not get paralyzed. So what does that mean? What kind of language is that? Hyperbole. Good job. My pride wouldn't let them. And again, either hyperbole or maybe possibly personification. Okay, and here we have a phrase. Looks like you're stuck between a rock and a hard spot. or a hard place. You may have heard that one also. You're stuck between a rock and a hard spot, or hard place. Okay? That's a phrase that's been used a lot. Used so much it may be called an idiom. And it just means you got a problem. It's hard to solve. If you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, it means you have a problem that's difficult to solve. So, and she doesn't, I think she's kind of like making fun of him. She's like, yeah, it's a real big problem you have. Just walk into the room and have your dad sign it. And she's dismissing herself, dismissing me. She's saying, hey, dude, your problem's not that big. You just, you're making it a super big problem. It's not a big problem. Go ask your dad. He'll be happy to sign it. Okay, so again, a lot going on. You can tell the mom is kind of fed up. She's like, hey, you have two parents. Stop putting everything on me. It's not fair. And then so CJ has a decision to make whether he will go to his dad or not. Okay. And we'll go ahead and skip some more poems. You can see this is Maya and CJ. They go on a date. Don't remember what that one's about. Oh, he starts shaving for the first time. And it's kind of an important thing in a boy's life when you start shaving. Okay, we're going to skip a lot of poems there. Yeah, we have to get to another one. So here we go. Remember, your job is to figure out what kind of figurative language is happening, and then maybe make some predictions of what's going to happen next, and also to infer what's really happening, to figure out what's really, really happening in this story. All right, here we go. Can you hear me now? I've learned to walk on little cat feet around my house. It allows me to be with Daddy without him knowing it. Today I hear his voice through the partially open door to Byron's room. I lean into the wall and listen, allowing myself to actually hear what he's saying. A woman can bring a man down faster than any fist. Your mama wound me up and gave me a punch that struck me in the heart, and I was down for the count. I still haven't recovered. I smiled. Byron went silent. He was too young for this, I thought to myself. You're still a little young for this, Daddy said. You won't understand everything I'm telling you. But forewarned is forearmed. But forewarned is forearmed. All you really need to know is you're a good man, you're a gentleman, and even when you haven't got a dime to your name, you've still got your courtesy. Hold on to it like it's gold, 'cause it is. A lady deserves respect. Open the door for her. Help her on with her coat. Don't take nothing that ain't being offered. And remember, making a baby don't make you a man. Just keep what I'm telling you under your hat. No need for all this now. Being in love is a beautiful thing. I don't want you to miss a minute of it. If she's anything like your mama, you'll be all right. Daddy opened the door and walked out. I waited a minute or two to get into Byron's room. He and Daddy had had a true man-to-man talk. No, it was a heart-to-heart talk, and I found myself wishing I was Byron. Hey, Byron, I said, pushing the door open, but there was no one there. Basketball practice, that's where he was. Every day until 5 p.m. So, who was Daddy talking to? I looked out into the hall and saw Grandmama staring back at me. My eyes were full of questions, and my mouth couldn't move. Grandma just smiled and said, "There's more than one way to skin a cat. Okay, so a lot going on in this poem. The poem's called Can You Hear Me Now? Alright, so I've learned to walk on little cat feet around my house. It allows me to be with Daddy, without him knowing it. Let's see, I think that all this here, to walk on little cat feet, probably some sort of figurative language. To walk on little cat feet, maybe hyperbole, maybe metaphor. It's kind of hard to tell between metaphor and hyperbole sometimes. I'm guessing metaphor, like he has cat feet. Today I hear his voice through the partially open door to Byron's room. I lean into the wall and listen. Allow myself to actually hear what he's saying. Okay, so the dad starts talking. Remember, there's no one in the room. Byron's not there. And he's talking to this younger brother in a way that's not exactly makes sense, because he's talking about all these things that would be not exactly, appropriate for a younger boy. And so we don't find out till later that the fact that there's no one in the room. So here we go. Okay, so let's look again, looking for figurative language. A woman can bring down a man faster than any fist. Probably hyperbole, maybe a metaphor, like being struck with in the face. Your mama wound me up and gave me a punch that struck me in the heart. And what kind of figurative language would that be? Probably hyperbole, maybe a metaphor. And I was down for the count. Down for the count is maybe an idiom. It's from fighting, like you get down, knocked down in a fight, and you're down for the count. When they count to 10, they count you out. I still haven't recovered. Again, probably hyperbole, maybe a metaphor. And here's a very interesting part we'll talk about when we do our inferences. I smiled and Byron was silent. Okay, and so you're too young to tell you. Forewarned is forearmed. That may be an idiom, meaning if you're prepared, you're going to be ready for things in the future. And again, this is all just literal language. You haven't got a dime to your name. You have your courtesy. A dime to your name just means you're poor, but you can still be a good person even though if you're poor. All right, so here we go back into some figurative language. Hold on to it, your courtesy, your manners, like it's gold, because it is. Like it's gold, like. That would be probably a simile, maybe a metaphor. A lady deserves respect. Open the door for her, hold her coat. Don't take nothing not being offered. And all these things are just literal. And you keep what I'm telling you under your hat. To keep something under your hat is not exactly what he means. The boy's not wearing a hat. So what might that be? What kind of figurative language could that be? It's a phrase that does not exactly mean what he's saying. Right, that's an idiom. To keep something under your hat means keep it to yourself. Don't share it. Don't put it out there. Just keep it in your own mind. Remember it. That means keep it under your hat. It's almost like a secret. Okay? Beautiful thing. Miss a moment of it. All just literal language. Literal language again. No figurative stuff. Basketball practice. Okay, so this is all just regular language. There are no figurative stuff. At the top there, my eyes were full of questions. What kind of language is that? The eyes have questions. Personification. My mouth couldn't move. Hyperbole. And here we have a phrase, listen to it. Grandma just smiled and said, "There's more than one way to skin a cat." Interesting. I know it's a disturbing image of taking the skin off of a cat, but that's not what it means. It has a different meaning. And when you have a phrase that says one thing but means something else, what kind of figurative language is that? Very good. It's an idiom. An idiom is where you say one thing but you mean something else. And can you figure out, can you infer, can you figure out what would that mean then if they're not talking about a cat at all? And Grandma's smiling and she says, "There's more than one way to skin a cat." Think about what's going on. Put all of that together in your head. The dad's not really talking to a boy. There's no one there. CJ listens in sometimes. So what's going on? All right, let me put it together for you. Okay, so here's what's going on. The dad knows that CJ will listen to him secretly. The dad knows this. So the dad goes into Byron's room and he knows that CJ is going to listen to this. So the dad goes into Byron's room and he talks to CJ indirectly. He knows that CJ is going to be outside the door listening. So he tells all of these things to CJ in a sneaky way, knowing that CJ is going to be outside the door listening. So Grandma is smiling. She goes, "Oh yeah, I know what's happening. You just got played. Your daddy was talking to you, because if your dad tried to talk to you, you wouldn't listen. Every time he tries to talk to you, you just shut up. You just shut down. So your dad just gave you all of this great advice, and you didn't know it, because if he tried to talk to you, you would just wouldn't even pay attention. But now you were paying attention. You were super attention because you thought you were being sneaky. So there's more way to skin a cat means that your dad took this other way to get to what he wanted, was to teach you how to be a man. He did this thing in a way that you didn't expect. So this phrase here means to do something in a way that is kind of like either clever or an alternate way. There's more than one way to reach the end goal that you want. Okay? All right. So, and again, we can make some real quick inferences. We can tell that the dad is now kind of realizing what's going on, and he needs to think of a different way to teach his boy how to be a man. So he does this thing. And here's something that's really important. That CJ smiles. And he can be smiling for a lot of different reasons. Maybe just the fact that, his mom and dad are in love with each other and he likes that. But maybe also he's not so angry at his dad that he can actually smile in the presence of his dad, which before he never would. So I think he's kind of getting, less angry at his dad, a little more happy with his dad. That's a good sign. All right, so yeah, the rest of it's just the fact that we had this surprise ending, the fact that the dad was not talking to anyone. In fact, the dad was talking to CJ. CJ just did not know it. So again, a great scene here from this amazing book, Keeping the Night Watch. We'll read some more together in the future. We'll try to get to the end of this poem book later on. And I really do hope you have a chance to read these excellent poems on your own. Again, so much going on in this amazing book. So thank you for listening. Thank you for learning. I'll see you soon with some more lessons about reading.